What's going on, guys? It's Caleb or Namirine back with another video, and in this one, we are talking about episode 6 of Lord of the Mysteries. Like every other episode, this one looked amazing, but the main thing that this episode did that really no other episode so far has done is that it had actually pretty good pacing. Or at least felt like it did. It didn't really jump around from idea to idea, introducing tons of new things, and really stuck with one plot point throughout majority of the episode. But before we get into the actual episode, please, for me, like and subscribe. I just hit 140 subs at the time of recording this video, so it'd be pretty cool if I could wake up in the morning and see 145 subs. Just saying. Without further ado, let's get into this episode. The episode begins with Professor Azik drawing on a wall what seems to be a castle that will end up becoming very important for the entirety of the episode. We then see Klein doing a divination or interpretation for Elizabeth's dreams because she's been having a reoccurring nightmare ever since returning from Castle Lamud. So the Nighthawks end up taking on this task and travel to that castle, which is now currently being haunted by a very, very strong wraith. So strong, in fact, that they have to use a sealed artifact to even defeat it. A sealed artifact that contains the power of the sun pathway. Once they reach the inside of the castle, the fight ensued. And I'm not going to explain the entirety of this fight, but it looked amazing. It was really cool. And you know, with like most fights in this anime so far, it's not really about like, you know, pure like combat. It's a lot of battle IQ that goes into these fights. For example, the artifact. The artifact is legit prep time. They're like Batman before going into the fight. It's really cool. It's like a game of chess most of these fights seem like so far. But I do gotta say, this scene right here where the Wraith just straight up elbows Klein in the temple and his eyes just start leaking blood, that scene was so cool. It of course ended up being that like elbow to the head wasn't even real. It's just a dream that the Wraith ended up, I guess, like placing onto Klein. But it was still a very, very cool looking scene. Anyway, after defeating the Wraith, they decide that they need to stay in this castle for a little bit longer to make sure that any other Wraiths, ghosts, or demons, or whatnot are all laid to rest and won't come back. They decide to take turns when standing watch, and of course, Klein goes first. So, he is given the sealed artifact, and once alone, he decides that he is going to go into the Fog Realm and use his seer powers to find out the origins of this artifact. I'm just going to say, that wasn't exactly the brightest idea. Well, technically it was. With his powers, he sees the creation of this charm, and it contains a certain golden liquid that is the blood of a god. So, Klein decides to touch this golden liquid, and, he's met face to face with a fucking god, the eternal blazing sun. Upon gazing on this literal cosmic being, Klein begins to burn, but not just him. His fog realm is also set ablaze, but luckily his fog realm somehow comes out on top, saving itself and Klein. As Klein's wounds begin to lift off of his skin, script begins to appear all over his hands, and also transports him into this, like, pure white realm, and it reads or says Angel of Pure White, and it starts to talk about the sun pathway, the creation of the charm, and it says that one must not gaze upon deities. In here, he also learns the formula for Sequence 4 Unshadowed. Now, I believe that this sequence formula is for the sun pathway, and I believe that's what was used to create the sun charm, or that, like, secret artifact that they used to defeat the Wraith. I could be completely wrong on that, so please let me know in the comments if I'm right. I think I am, but I really don't know. Anyway, fast forward some time, and they eventually finish their mission, and all end up returning home. But once Klein reaches his house, he sees that he has a letter in his mailbox from Professor Azik telling him to come to the university right away because he has information on Hornatius. Wait. Before we go any further, I accidentally left out a pretty key detail that occurred during the beginning of the episode. Well, not exactly in the beginning, but when they first reached the inside of the castle, there was this portrait on the floor from about 1,000 years ago that looked a lot like Professor Azik. Anyway, back where we left off, Klein decides to head to the university to see the information that Azik has on Hornatius. Once he reaches the classroom, Professor Azik is nowhere to be found, but out of the corner of his eye, he catches something, that drawing that Azik drew in the beginning of the episode. Upon inspection, he realizes that this drawing is the castle in Lamud where they just killed the Wraith. You know, you gotta love TV show timing, because right after he gets done inspecting it, Azik walks on in and is like, What you doing there, buddy? You looking at my drawings? Nah, but seriously, Azik tells Klein that he's been having dreams about this castle. Basically, the same thing that Elizabeth was having, just, a lot more mysterious given the portrait and, given the fact that he might be 1,000 years old. Anyway, Azik gives Klein some text regarding Hornasius, and here he begins to learn about it. He learns that it's a mountain range that severs two kingdoms. I'm not sure if we already knew that, but I don't think I knew it, so I'm pretty sure it's the first time we're learning about that anyway. But here he also learns that it was once home, or that temple that we see, was once home to an ancient civilization that likely worshipped the Evernight goddess, or at least has some connection to the Evernight goddess. During this little research period, Azik ended up turning into Eisen, and ended up deducing that Klein low-key knows some of his secrets. With this, he confronts him, but really he isn't mad or like at all even evil. He just tells him that he wants to know about his past. So Klein decides to take Azik to that castle that he's been seeing in his dreams, the one that they just got back from. Now you might be thinking, as an anime only like myself, that this probably isn't a good idea given the fact, we seen him a couple episodes prior and he low-key seemed pretty fucking evil. But Klein used his seer stuff in the gray fog realm and realized that he isn't evil, and actually is quite the opposite. If he takes him to this castle all by himself without telling the Nighthawks, Azik in the future will eventually save Klein. Here we get about just 15 minutes straight of just pure Azik lore. We find out that he is in fact at least around 1,000 years old, as he has been cursed with immortality. We also find out that he is a Beyonder of the Corpse Collector pathway. We also find out that he used to be a very, very, very respected knight. We also find out that he used to have a family, well actually a lot of families, but each time he ends up leaving them in some devastating way. And I promise this is the last time I'm going to say this, we also find out that the Wraith that Klein and the Nighthawks had defeated or killed was actually Azik's son. But once they reach his tomb, which is buried deep beneath the castle, they find out that his head is missing. Well, not his head, his skull, but tomato, tomato. Here it ends off with Azik hoping that he will eventually regain all of his memories, and he vows to find and kill the person that stole his son's skull. And the episode ends off with Klein returning back home, sympathizing with Azik's situation, as both of their situations share similarities. Straight peak episode. Not my favorite so far, but in terms of straight story delivery, this was most definitely the best one so far. Out of the 6 episodes, it definitely had the best pacing. It really wasn't throwing, just idea at you left and right. Just, it stuck with one main story point and really just ran with it throughout the whole episode. Of course, there was, some mysteries. I mean, it's in the title, Lord of the Mysteries, but not enough that would make you straight up confused with other episodes. One thing though that I low-key was really surprised with during this episode was I did not expect Azik to be a good guy. I low-key thought he was gonna be a straight antagonist. I thought he was gonna be with the Aurora Order or that other group. I forgot their names, but I guess he's a good guy. He still might be a bad guy. He still might be a villain. I low-key don't know, because we don't know his full history yet. I mean, Klein did say that eventually he'll save him in the future, but I mean that doesn't necessarily mean he's a good guy. But off what we know so far, I guess he is. Anyway, off this episode, I have 3 lingering questions. The first one has to do with the eternal blazing sun. How was Klein touching that golden blood in the past, basically? Because what he was looking at was occurring in the past, I believe. Way in the past, like 100, maybe even 1,000 years ago. How was him touching that liquid, allowed him to see the god, but not just see the god? How is he getting damaged, right? Because what he's looking at technically isn't supposed to be real. It's just supposed to be he's looking at it from a astral projection type of thing, right? So I don't know. That there's a lot we don't know about Klein's powers, and this just added a whole nother a level to that. And this leads into the second question theory thing. When he was getting healed from all the burns and stuff, that script appeared on his hands and he transported to that white realm or whatever. And the Angel of Whites, who I believe was talking to him, I think that's what was going on. It was saying must not directly look at gods or whatever. But the part in there that was really interesting to me was what Klein himself was thinking. He said, is this a reward for tanking a high-level boss or whatever? That just started raising, like, tons of questions in my head, right? Because, minor spoilers for solo leveling. I'm actually not going to say any spoilers, so forget about that. But in solo leveling, the architect exists. That's all I'm going to say. So if you've read solo leveling and obviously Lord of the Mysteries, are Klein's powers similar to what the architect did? That's all I want to know. If you've read both, let me know. Because I'm starting to think that something in this series, similar to the architect, did something for Klein. Let me know if I'm on the right track. I probably ain't, but it'd be kind of funny if I am. I know I did say that I had a third, like, question theory thingy, but to be honest, it's really stupid, so I'm just going to keep it to myself. It's even more stupid than the architect shit. Anyhow, with that, I really don't have much else to add to this video. You know, it was just a really good episode. It had great pacing, definitely the best pacing so far, the best, like, direct storyline out of these 6 episodes. So yeah, great episode. If you haven't watched it yet, go and watch it. Seriously. With that, this wraps up the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and join my Discord server if you want. We got 3 members in there now. Safe to say, we're like a top 1 Discord server. I mean, dude, pretty massive. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video.